If we see him into his follow-through position, the first thing you notice he does as well as anyone of all time is pushing his hips forward. So he pushes his hips forward towards the target. Now, as his hips push forward towards the target, you notice his head doesn't go forward along with it. His head stays back, so his chest is up, his head's back, and his head is a little bit to the right, not straight up and down. So into the follow-through, the hips push forward, the head stays back and to the right. Hips forward, head back and to the right. And really the third piece of his follow-through that I would call the macro part that I think all of us can do is the arms being extended. So again, if you look at these pictures, you see the hips pushed well forward, the head is back, and then the arms are extended. And he did a great job of keeping the arms extended for a long time into his follow-through. Hey guys, Eric here out at the beautiful Don Law Golf Academy at Osprey Point Golf Club in Boca Raton, Florida. Now in today's video, we're gonna be talking about Ben Hogan's swing secrets, specifically his follow-through. What he did so well in his follow-through, there's three parts to it that made him an unbelievable ball striker, things we can put into your swing as well. Now before we dive into that, just two quick things. Number one, I am going to be continuing to do in-person lessons here at the Don Law Golf Academy. We'll put a link to Acuity scheduling down below for that. If you can't make it down here to Florida during the winter, we'd still love to work with you through CogornoGolf.com. That's our online golf school where you can send in your swings. I build you a customized practice plan. You get access to everything on the site, all the master classes, practice plan, our community, everything you need to take your game to the next level. We'll put the link for Cogorno Golf down below. Would love to see you there. Now, in terms of the follow-through and what Hogan did in the follow-through, and in my opinion, one of the things that made him such an incredible ball striker and what we all can do here. Now, you're gonna see some clips and some images throughout this that hopefully will paint a good picture. We're gonna go over those three things, the macro things. First, we'll hit some shots, then we'll get into a little more detail as we go. So if we look at the follow-through, what are those three things? If we see him into his follow-through position, the first thing you notice he does as well as anyone of all time is pushing his hips forward. So he pushes his hips forward towards the target. Now, as his hips push forward towards the target, you notice his head doesn't go forward along with it. His head stays back, so his chest is up, his head's back, and his head is a little bit to the right, not straight up and down. So into the follow-through, the hips push forward, the head stays back and to the right. Hips forward, head back and to the right. And really the third piece of his follow-through that I would call the macro part that I think all of us can do is the arms being extended. So again, if you look at these pictures, you see the hips pushed well forward, the head is back, and then the arms are extended. And he did a great job of keeping the arms extended for a long time into his follow-through. Now, if we put up 1,000 golfers across the board, and we looked at those three categories, hips forward, head back, arms extended, you would see that the better the player, the better they did all three of those, and the higher the handicap, the worse they did all three of those. Meaning, the opposite of the hips being pushed forward and up would be the hips back and low. That'd be the highest handicap player has the hips the most back. The lowest handicap has them pushed forward the most. We'll talk about why. The head being more back with the chest up, this extension piece, would be what the best players exhibit. The players hit it the highest and farthest. The chest down towards the ground with the head forward would be the highest handicap. And then the arms extended. The arms being extended the most, the straightest, the longest would be what the best players do, and the arms being the most bent, the quickest, would be what the highest handicap players do. So that seems fairly straightforward. And if we did a catalog, right, of 1,000 golfers, and we did 500 good and 500 high handicap, you would see those three correlations in virtually all those players to some degree. So hopefully we can all agree that putting those pieces in would be good for our game. Now, a couple of the minor details as we start to hit here. As the hips push forward towards the target, the belt buckle should be the closest thing to the target. So if we look at my belt buckle and we drew a straight line down, like you can see in some of Grant's pictures, the belt buckle's up over the left ankle and the left foot, And the shirt buttons are back more away from the target than the belt buckle, so it keeps the head back. So the shirt buttons are more up towards the sky. And that's really just the extension piece here. So the belt buckle's closest to the target, the shirt buttons are up, the head's back, and it's tilted to the right some amount. So let's start to hit a couple, and as you start to hit, what I want you feeling is like you're pushing your hips and your belt buckle towards the target, up in the air. So you'll see in the follow through, if I drew a line across my belt line, let's say about halfway back, and it's a certain distance from the ground, I'll call it 3 feet, just making that up. In the follow through, the hips or the belt line would be higher from the leg straightening. So the belt buckle's closer to the target and more up in the air. Now also you're gonna note there's some slant to the hips. So the left hip is higher than the right hip, and the hips have turned to the point where the belt buckle points left of the target. So while we have these 3 main macro categories, hips forward, head back and right, arms extended, we've got these little like 4 subcategories for just the hip piece. It goes forward, it goes up, it's tilted, left hip higher than the right, and the belt buckle points left of the target line. So I would start here with the hip motion, hitting little shots and feeling those hip pieces, recording yourself and checking yourself against Hogan, right? Or any of these good ball strikers. Let's go ahead and hit one here. So here's my hips into the follow through, pushed forward over my ankle, belt buckle's pointed left of the target, my hips have raised for my leg straightening, and my left hip is higher than my right. Let's go ahead and do another one. And this will be the first piece. Now, if you get the hip piece correct, the hips pushing forward piece, that'll be easier to get the head back into the right part too. So hips forward towards the target, up towards the sky, and pointed left of the target. Let's go ahead and match that Hogan picture. Yeah, beautiful. And so when I do that, especially the hip tilting piece, to keep the lead hip higher than the right hip, it's gonna feel like your left hip is pushed this way. It's like the sliding piece with the turn into the follow through. So that's really part 1 with the hips. Now, as I do that, I wanna confirm the head piece, right? So my head is back and to the right, so it's tilted. So as my hips push forward and up, my shirt buttons are gonna feel like they're pointed towards the sky. My head, chin, neck, and all that will feel more back and tilted over, like my right ear closer to my right shoulder. So neck back, right ear down into the follow through. Hips forward, head back into the right. And that's the second piece that I want to be recording and looking at. Is my belt line closer to the target than my chest, my shirt buttons are up towards the sky, and my head is back and to the right. Let's do one more of those. Hips forward, head back and to the right. Again, the hips forward part makes the head back and to the right easier. Hips forward and up, head back and right. Good, and those are all about as good as I could hit the irons Mary can attest to into this 30-mile-an-hour wind. Now, the reason we go hips forward first is because that makes the head back easier, like I mentioned. The reason we do the head back second is because that makes the arms straight easier, which is the final part. So when I come into my follow through, the more I push my hips up and forward, the more my head can stay back. And now the more my head stays back with my chest up, this extension, that allows my arms to be the straightest, the longest. If I went head forward, chest down, that's gonna be the arms bent the most and bent the quickest. Head back, chest up allows the arms to be extended. Allowing the arms to be extended allows me to hit the ball first, ground second, create speed, etc. So hips forward and up, head back and right, arms extended. It's putting the whole piece together. Hips up and forward, head back and right, arms extended. And that would be me putting all of the Hogan pieces. So hopefully that looks just like him from face on or close enough. But not only did Hogan do these pieces well, like I mean, this is about a Ben Hogan video. Most all good golfers will do this. And if you want to improve how high you hit the ball, how far you hit the ball, and your overall swing pattern. The more you push your hips up and right, the more you extend, and the more you get your arms straighter, the more you're going to compress the ball, low point more forward, the more speed you can create, the angle of attack is shallower, higher and farther, all good things. So one more, you're going to start with the hips forward and up until you get that piece. Once you get the hips forward and up, you're going to do the head back and right, and then you add the arms extended. Let's see if we can put it all together. Hips forward and up, head back and right, arms extended. Yeah, and that's as good as I can do. So when you're practicing it, right now I'm able to put those pieces together because I demonstrate most of them normally, right? So it's not that different for me. Now, if you ask me to do 3 different things that I'm accustomed to, let's say normally your hips are back and low, your head's forward and your arms are bent, I would do these one at a time, or break your things up into like different sets of balls. So I would start with just the hips, record myself. I've got a 7 iron, I might start with an 8 or 9 iron, and I'd only go about hip high, and start with the hips. When I finish my swing, or if my belt buckle over my left leg, and is it the closest thing to the target? And just start with that. Can I get my hips forward and up on just a little half one? And then I'm going through the minor details of the tilting and the rotation. Once I can do that, and I've done that successfully, and I can repeat it, let's say for about a set of 10 balls, then I'd add in the chest. Okay, I've got my hip feel. Now let me start to feel my chest up towards the sky, head back with it. So hips up and forward, chest, up, head back. Let me start to feel that with it. And building block your approach in. So it's okay if you don't do them all at the same time. Hips first, head back and right second, arms extended third. That's what Hogan did so well in the follow through. That's what you can do. Train it in short and slow. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you liked the video, would love if you could click that little gray thumbs up like button down there. That goes a long way for us. We'd really appreciate that. Click the subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about the video? More like this. What are topics you'd love us to cover? Put that down below. We'd love to talk to you in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, we're going to put a similar YouTube video here up on the screen. You could click that to watch. We'll also put the logo to cogornogolf.com. You could click that. That'll take you right there. Hope you enjoyed the video.